People and the world now is filled to the brim with emotions. And we are talking about the biggest and the heaviest emotions, the kind of emotions that no one really likes to talk about, yet they exist. Love, certainly, but the biggest emotion at hand is, without a doubt, it's fear. Fear is the emotion that overpowers all other emotions since it deals with matters of survival. And to be quite honest, we didn't go into the corona crisis well equipped. The level where we took off, it was rather low to begin with. 3 years ago, uh, one of my personal favorites and most brilliant thinkers in the world, the Polish sociologist Zygmunt Bauman, passed away. And during his last months, he spoke a lot about his concept of liquid fear. He said that liquid fear is a tangible feeling of anxiety that has only vague contours, but it is still acutely present everywhere. It is the feeling where we know something bad is about to happen, but we have no idea what, when, where, or why it is going to happen. We all just know. Bauman said that the anxiety of the Western world crystallizes in the moment when we collectively, when we look at the world and we become painfully aware of the fact that, oh my God, nobody is in control. Everyone who is alive today has been brought up to the belief that there are great powers in the world and that those powers more or less decide how we all are going to end up. And in a world full of fears, one of the greatest sources of comfort for us all has always been the line, well, I don't think they would be so stupid as to do something that would start something bad. Today, we have not only come to believe that they really are that stupid, but the real change is that they, the powers to be, do not exist anymore because nobody is in control. And Bauman said this way back in 2017, over 3 years ago. And this is the level when Corona came for a visit. Before Corona, I was convinced, based on humanity's global performance since the 2009 economic crisis, I was convinced that the world was really heading for a major reset. And by reset, in this case, what I mean is that the scope of things, the perspective of all things great and small, was lost for humanity. I think that the human mind, I think it works in the same way as the computer in my car that tells me the fuel consumption, meaning that the computer only measures the past 1,000 kilometers that you've driven with that car. And all its perspectives are based on the most recent 1,000 kilometers driven. For a human individual, I think that same scope is about 1,000 days. That's the amount of days that perspectives change. But for nations and societies, the scope of things at hand is based on the historical perspective of about 30 to 70 years. After that time, the guiding light that history has provided us to show us the way, that guiding light begins to dim. And when the guiding light dims, we get lost. And I think it's obvious, looking at the world now and looking at the world for the past 10 years, I think it's obvious that we have most certainly lost our perspective of size and importance of a number of things during the past 10 years. We've, all around the world, through globalization, through digitalization and so on, we've collectively become enraged and afraid of things that in the past would have been too small to mention. And when it became apparent that Corona was going to stop the world entirely, I became very hopeful. I thought that maybe we might not need more wars for the reset, but that Corona could provide us with the much needed lesson of what is really important in the world. And I don't just mean in personal relations and human interaction, but in life in general, as a species, as a global economy and so on, that it could have been for us the chance to see again the perspective of things. I even fantasized that the governments of the world would now finally find the global brotherhood of man or woman and join hands in defeating the viral aliens who are trying to take over our planet. We all remember this scene from all the alien movies from the past. Many of us wished that this would happen. And then yesterday we read in the news that thousands of protesters in Germany were throwing bricks at the police to protest against the use of vaccines and 5G networks. So I think we're not quite there yet at the brotherhood of man phase. There's still some way to go. But what I mean with all of this is that, well, whatever you do for a living, if you're a student, if you work in business or in government, or especially if you work in an NGO, a non-governmental organization, if you are now or in the future planning on saying anything out to the world, please remember how people feel, the thought behind the thought. If you ask people how they feel, they will give you an answer. But then you have to imagine the thought behind the given thought. At this time in the world, everybody is scared. Even and sometimes especially the people who say they are not scared. People don't want to admit being scared of the future because they themselves perceive being scared as a sign of weakness or a risk of apathy. But being scared is a human emotion, and it's a very, very strong human emotion. Every once in a while, one might say, people need to be scared in order to be human. And again, collectively, we very often seem to forget that the one who is brave is not the one who is not scared, but brave is the one who is scared but still performs and moves ahead. I would love for our common battle cry for the future to be, fear is okay. Fear is not something that should make you turn to superstition or throwing bricks at the police. And fear is not something that you should be ashamed of, and then, because of the shame, you should try to overcompensate that with excessive power. Fear is okay. We can accept and deal with fear because today everybody has it. the corona crisis and all that's come about with it, they're global issues. They affect everyone. I'm most definitely scared, but I'm still operational, as you are. You are here. You're not out on the streets throwing the bricks or burning the 5G towers. We're here. We are operational. And yes, I am afraid, but even at the face of extreme uncertainty looking forward, I still believe that things will end up good. Maybe not in the way of good that I was planning in my life, but still good. And in regard of the idea of the human economy, which means about the ability to empathize the feelings of others and base your own actions on that understanding. That's the idea of the human economy. As an example of what I mean is really this talk that I've given to you today. You're all sitting at your homes. You know that the jokes are going on where we are all wondering if we are wearing any pants and so on. It's a global phenomenon. We're all home. We're all experiencing the same things. I was trying to give an example of some sort of a connection, some sort of an understanding on how we all feel today, more or less some kind of a sense of shared humanity. And if my point today is to say that I still believe very firmly that things will end up okay, in such an event, I couldn't just come out here and say this to you. I couldn't come here, sit in this chair, look at you and say things are going to be okay. If my only message would have been unlimited positivity, that would have only underlined the sense of me being completely detached from reality and totally unempathetic. And whatever you do, you do not want to be regarded as being detached from reality, no matter what you say and to whom you say it. The question you really do not want your audience or customers or employees to ask is, in what world does this guy live in? Or does he have any idea how we feel in the world today? Be honest, but always remember what you are here for. Like I'm here today to remind you that if we want things not only to get better, but to be better in the future, in a world where nobody is in control, it means we are all in control. The post-corona world, it's not a spectator sport. We are not looking at it while it happens. The form of the world to come, the post-corona world, it's not something that starts somewhere and then eventually it will come here and then we'll see what the world will be like. The post-corona world is something that someone somewhere is building and thus defining now. It is happening now what the post-corona world will end up being. Now, I would much prefer that the world would be rebuilt by good people. And that is why I'm talking to you. And that is why I implore you to get busy building the world to come. Thank you.